How did Cole Thomas Allen bypass security at one of the most highly protected buildings on Earth during the third assassination attempt on our President Donald J. Trump? To understand how, let's take a look at this 3D model of the Hilton Hotel that we put together just 12 hours ago. The event was split across two floors, the terrace and the concourse. The guests had to clear security at the bottom of the stairs just to access the ballroom, which held the President, the First Lady, and top government officials. So how did the shooter bypass these checkpoints? Well, he simply traveled from LA and checked in as a regular hotel guest. Security was full of blind spots, including zero luggage screening at the front doors. When he finally hit the main checkpoint, he charged in guns blazing, carrying a shotgun, a pistol, and several knives. It begs the question, what if he hadn't been stopped? Had the Secret Service failed on those stairs, the assassin wouldn't have made it to the ballroom. Walking freely right through this passage, he almost certainly would have wiped out the entire American leadership. This part 1, the assassin behind the plan. To understand what happened on the night of April 25th, 2026, you first need to understand who Cole Thomas Allen was. Born April 11, 1995, Allen attended the California Institute of Technology from 2013 to 2017. But beneath that ordinary surface, something was building. On the evening of April 25th, roughly 10 minutes before he made his move, Allen sent family members a written statement calling himself the friendly federal assassin, expressing deep anti-Trump sentiments and clearly stating he wanted to target administration officials. He had purchased his shotgun legally in August 2025 and also owned a semi-automatic pistol purchased in 2023. Both purchases required FBI background checks, which he passed. He had no criminal record. He had no restraining orders. Nothing in the system marked him as a threat. This brings us to part 2. The journey to Washington. Allen checked into the Washington Hilton on Friday, the day before the event. He had traveled from Los Angeles to Chicago by train, and then from Chicago to Washington, D.C. He was not flagged. He was not stopped. But how on earth could someone with a disassembled long gun check into a hotel room where the president was scheduled to speak? The answer is simple. Nobody even looked at the guest's luggage. His bags went completely unchecked on Friday afternoon, and all of his belongings remained unchecked as late as 5:00 p.m. on the day of the event. Allen spent Friday night in his hotel room where he assembled his weapons and waited. Here is part 3. The dinner begins. At 8:00 p.m., the Washington Hilton's International Ballroom, built deep underground beneath the hotel, was packed with 2,600 guests in black tie. The hotel's layout for this event can be divided into two main sections, the terrace level, and just below it, the concourse or lower level. This subterranean room was the exact location where the President, the First Lady, the Vice President, the FBI Director, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, the EPA Administrator, and the Secretary of Health and Human Services were gathered. Effectively, the entire executive leadership of the United States government was seated together in a single confined space. Meanwhile, Allen was making his move. Preliminary investigations determined that he used a stairwell to descend from his hotel room down to the terrace level, carrying his firearms in a bag. He walked down those stairs calmly. He knew exactly where the checkpoint was, and he knew exactly what he was walking toward. So how did he breach the perimeter? We look to part 4, the breach. Using his room key, Allen walked through the hotel lobby and corridors like any other guest. Security cameras recorded him carrying a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives, completely unchallenged. At approximately 8:36 p.m. Eastern Time, Allen was finally confronted by security near the main metal detector screening area, just outside the ballroom doors. He sprinted past the initial security barricades and opened fire. At least 2 shots rang out as he engaged the security forces. A member of the Secret Service Uniform Division returned fire just before Allen was apprehended, though the shot missed amid the chaos. Allen was immediately swarmed, tackled, pinned face down to the ground, and handcuffed right at the magnetometers. He never made it through the ballroom doors. But what were the mistakes? This leads to part 5, the security loopholes. What went wrong? Loophole 1, the hotel guest exemption. The most fundamental flaw in the entire security plan was this: registered hotel guests were not subjected to early screening. Loophole 2, no luggage screening at check-in. An attendee staying in the room next to Allen's confirmed that nobody checked luggage during hotel check-in on Friday or even as late as 5:00 p.m. on Saturday. Loophole 3, the manifesto that arrived too late. Allen sent his written manifesto to family members roughly 10 minutes before the attack began. Although his brother notified local police, the warning simply came too late to act upon. Loophole 4. Legal gun purchases with no red flags. Allen purchased his shotgun legally in August 2025, passing an FBI background check. His pistol was also purchased legally in 2023 with a cleared background check. Nothing in the system marked him as a threat. Loophole 5. A public hotel hosting a presidential event. Trump himself addressed this vulnerability directly following the attack. He posted on social media stating this event would never have happened with the militarily top-secret ballroom currently under construction at the White House. This brings us to part 8. What if he had breached the checkpoint? If Allen had pushed past those agents, or if the security detail had been fewer in number, slower to react, or simply overwhelmed, he would have entered a subterranean room with nowhere for the crowd to escape. In a densely confined underground ballroom, a shotgun is among the most devastating weapons imaginable. The casualty potential in that room, even in the brief seconds before tactical agents could neutralize a threat already inside the perimeter, is almost unthinkable. Had the attack succeeded, the United States would have faced a constitutional crisis unlike anything in modern history. The president, the vice president, and much of the executive cabinet could have been incapacitated simultaneously, in the exact same room. But if this was the third attempt on the president's life, what exactly happened during the first two? While the second attempt takes us to West Palm Beach, Florida, home to the prestigious Trump International Golf Club. This exclusive private club offers its members world-class amenities including 27 holes of championship golf. Now let's examine the positions of Mr. Donald Trump and the shooter. Currently, Mr. Trump is positioned at the 5th hole, while the shooter was reportedly waiting behind the chain-link fences in close proximity. Based on the analysis, Trump was approximately 300 to 500 yards away from the gunman at the time, which is approximately 200 to 457 meters. This visual representation provides a clearer understanding of the layout and the critical distance between the two individuals during the incident. Now that we've understood the gunman's position, we can piece together his actions. He arrived in a black Nissan SUV and parked somewhere in the vicinity, likely choosing a discreet location to avoid drawing attention. After extensive scouting, he began searching for the ideal vantage point, carefully timing his movements. His aim was to strike at the precise moment when Mr. Trump would reach the 5th hole of the golf course. In this animation, we can see the president making his way across the course in a golf cart, unaware of the imminent danger. Little did he know the assassin was waiting for the last 12 hours to take his best shot against the president. As stated, the assailant was armed with an SKS and not an AK-47, as earlier reported. As the president stepped out of the golf cart and prepared to take his shot, a Secret Service agent noticed something suspicious. The suspect had inserted the barrel of his rifle through a gap in the chain-link fence on the outskirts of Trump International Golf Course. This took place at approximately 1:28 or 1:29 p.m. The moment the rifle barrel emerged through the chain fence, the Secret Service acted swiftly. Shots were fired at around 1:30 p.m., neutralizing the threat before the gunman could execute his plan. The suspect, identified as Ryan Wesley Routh, 58, intended to create shock and awe, capturing the entire incident on his GoPro camera. His objective was to sow division among the American people and potentially incite a civil war. Upon inspecting the sniper's location, investigators discovered 2 bags and a ceramic tile, items that may have been part of his setup or escape plan. As soon as the Secret Service agent fired at the suspect, he fled the scene. The suspect likely escaped using the same black Nissan SUV he arrived in, leaving behind the weapon and other items in his haste. But it all started on July 13, 2024, with the very first assassination attempt. In Butler, the building the shooter climbed was technically outside of the rally venue, and the Secret Service didn't sweep it. It fell through the cracks, which still falls to the Secret Service because it means nobody checked to ensure the plan was implemented correctly. But before we move ahead, let's map out the basic positions of all the parties involved. First, we have the President Donald J. Trump's podium, and just beside him are 3 bleachers where a selected audience is seated. Behind them is the sniper team, which can be divided into north and south positions, located on 3 buildings. Sniper Team North is located on the first building, while on the third building you can find Sniper Team South. Almost sandwiched in between are these trees, which provided some cover from the Secret Service Sniper Team North. Finally, we have the shooter, who climbed from one of those ladders and selected this position to take out his target. This is what the shooter is likely using: an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. When ready, he squeezes the trigger, firing 3 bullets in a controlled manner. But there's another kind of assassin out there, and this one is targeting our phones and laptops, so you really need a military-grade VPN. Think of Surfshark VPN as your frontline defense. It scans and detects threats, alerting you to thousands of dangerous emails. Beyond that, it includes a robust antivirus software to shield your devices from viruses, malware, and tracking by ads, bots, or third parties. Finally, with Surfshark VPN, a single subscription covers not just you, but also your friends or even your entire city if you wanted. Go to our link surfshark.com/AITELE. By buying through the promo link, you will get 4 extra months free, assured by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Let's map out each of the bullets in detail. Out of the 3 bullets fired, the first bullet hit Mr. Trump on the ear. This is the same round that also hit 2 audience members in Bleacher 3, rendering one of them in critical conditions. Let's move the camera to a top angle to show the line along which the bullet traveled. Next, 2 more bullets were fired. One of them hit a tractor, which was being used as a makeshift array for speakers. These rounds also hit a hydraulic lever, causing it to burst, almost dropping the speakers. The last 5 shots were probably fired in semi-automatic mode. One of these bullets sadly hit an attendee, and our condolences goes out to his family. In total, around 7 to 8 bullets were likely fired by the shooter. Here's a map of all the bullets fired to help you understand better. Everybody was complaining about the Secret Service sniper for taking 2 minutes to take out the shooter, but let's take a look from the sniper's point of view. First of all, we have these tree lines that could have obstructed the sniper team north, while the sniper team south had a clear line of sight. Here are 2 scenarios circulating on the internet. In scenario 1, the leaves and branches of the tree covered almost 90% of the shooter's entire position. However, for an experienced shooter, this would have been possible to manage. He might have fired the shot and took out the threat. Let's look at scenario 2. The distance from sniper south to the shooter was around 600 to 700 feet. This is also a possible shot and can be accounted for by assuming that sniper team south took out the shooter from this range. When ready, he took his shot and fired his rifle with a 308 Winchester round, taking out the shooter. So maybe there was some miscommunication between the 2 teams regarding who should take out the shooter, resulting in a delay of around 2 minutes when the threat was detected on the roof. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Should the second sniper team reacted much faster? At around 5:10, Crooks was first identified as a person of interest, and 5:30 Crooks was spotted with a rangefinder. 5:52 Crooks was spotted on the roof by the Secret Service. As stated, the gunman was positioned outside the rally venue, approximately 400 to 500 feet away from where Trump was speaking. As discussed, the police sniper was located at this position. They were then alerted and started aiming at the suspected shooter. When ready, the bolt-action rifle bullet traveled a range of around 600 to 700 feet. However, this weapon can inflict damage at a range of around 1,200 to 1,300 yards. This is well beyond the shooter's 500 feet limit. From the top angle, this is what it looks like when replaying how the bullet missed Mr. Trump as he moved his head at the last millisecond. Interestingly, this bullet would have hit the former president if his head had been turned towards the audience as shown here in this visualization. At this moment, Trump remains low to the ground surrounded by agents, who could be heard on the rally microphone discussing which vehicle would be used to move the former president away from the scene. Let's fast forward this event here. At 6:40, the former president was ushered to this black armored vehicle. This takes him to the nearest Butler Memorial Hospital, approximately 11 miles away. We make original videos from scratch and animated by humans, so please subscribe to not miss a beat.